Welcome aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. Mr. Kerr, I missed you.
Oh.
Did you miss me?
That makes one of us.
Welcome back to the show. We are going to talk about your European adventure, including, look like you're on I guess not a little ship. That looked like a pretty big ship.
It was massive.
We're going to talk about state number 49 for me. It was a little bit chilly. We're going to touch on the Built Rent Day promo. And if we have enough time, I hope that you spent some time this morning taking a little bar of soap and polishing the soap box real good. Give it a scrub and a shine so we can talk about check bag fees.
How can we make the boarding experience for American worse? We have an idea. We'll talk about it. Coming here today on the Miles to Go podcast.
I love it. All right. Well, so you were gone for a while. We had Clint on last week in your place, and here we sit a week later. You've been overseas to a number of countries, and I want to get into all that. I guess first and foremost, just for folks who are just tuning in, we're going to try some stuff this week. I've been fiddling around with some of the other features on the piece of software that we use. So we're gonna try some pictures and videos and all kinds of cool stuff. So if I do a bad job at this, just have fun, laugh at me like Richard does, make fun of me as much as humanly possible, and we'll roll with it. We're just trying to make the YouTube feed a little bit more interesting because, we haven't scored the surveys yet, Richard, but it does not appear that you and I performed well in terms of visual net promoter scores.
Oh, really? Okay, well. And for everybody listening to the podcast in your car, please let us know how these pictures look. We would appreciate feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just to paint a picture for folks, if you are listening, the reason why you want to tune in is because you can see Richard's Atlanta's welder hat today, which I still don't really understand and probably won't ask for an explanation, and he'll give it anyway.
I really like this hat. It's actually my buddy's company here just across behind my shoulder across the playground. He is Atlanta's welder, and he's always worn these hats, and it's not a promotion for him because nobody listening to Miles Ago needs a welder in Atlanta. I just really like the hat, and he was kind enough to give me a hat, and I wear it around the house from time to time.
I love it. All right, so if you're just tuning in, he is at Kerr Points on all those social media places. I am at Pizza in Motion. You can text us or leave us a voicemail at 571-293-6659. And you can shoot us an email if you have a question or a comment, ed@pizzainmotion.com. As well, we'd love it if you take a moment to leave us a review. Apple, Spotify, all those places. It helps people discover the podcast. There's a link in the show notes. Take you 60 seconds to fill out the review. And last little bit of housekeeping, which we'll discuss more in detail. But we do have a paid Slack community if you want to support the show. Plenty of channels for asking questions, sharing stuff, and we do semi-monthly happy hours as well as a couple annual meetups a year. All right, so Mr. Kerr, let's talk about this trip. Yeah, I know. I mean, it was such a long trip. I mean, we sort of recorded around it a little bit with our Hilton Evergreen episode to give you a little bit more time to get overseas, but the adventure started in Barcelona and ended in Barcelona because you took a pretty nice long cruise.
We did, yeah. Took a 7-day Mediterranean cruise round trip Barcelona with MSC, the Italian line, and we sailed on the 1-year-old MSC World Europa, which is 216,000 tons. So if you're familiar with Cruise World at all, like the Icon of the Seas is the new largest cruise ship in the world. That is 255,000 tons, and ours was 214,000 tons. So very similar in size. Absolutely massive. 22 decks.
22 decks.
22 decks. Like that's like numbered, right? And then that's not even what's below the waterline where everybody hangs out. So, I mean, that thing was huge. We drove up to the port of Barcelona. It's a really cool view. You kind of like got to go over this bridge to get to the other side of the port where it was moored. And you get this full on like side view of the ship. And you're like, holy moly. Like we'd obviously watched all the YouTube videos, but it was huge. This was our second MSC cruise. We took one through the Caribbean, like right when they opened their new island down there. We really enjoyed the experience on that. So when, again, I think I talked about it before, we went to Europe off peak last year.
Yeah.
And had a great time and decided to do it again this year. No heat, no crowds is all about it for me. And then just, I think because, not the warmest time in the world to go cruise around the Mediterranean, ended up actually not being a problem with the jacket, but the prices were just very reasonable for a week in Europe versus like having the hotel hop, pack and unpack, get 2 hotel rooms because of occupancy limits. And it worked out fantastic. So we started off, we'll kind of go through the itinerary here and just stop me whenever you find something interesting or not interesting. But
yeah, let me stop you. Did you buy the MSC cruise directly through MSC or did you use a travel agency?
So for cruises, most of the time we use Vacations to Go, TOGO, and I found it. They have this thing called the 90-day ticker on Vacations to Go. They show you the best deals over that cruise is selling in the next 90 days. Like everybody who listens to this podcast knows, we plan things pretty last minute just because how often my schedule changes, and that's where I found it. And they usually, find a good agent. They'll throw in some onboard credit. It really is the best prices, and it's just a super easy process. So, yeah, through Vacations to Go, and it counts for there. And we're all set. It kind of all started when those Flying Blue mistake fares back, I don't remember when it was, before Christmas happened, and we found business class to Europe. We ended up doing a little bit tweaking of that itinerary and ended up getting all of us in business class on KLM with Flying Blue miles. Ed's got a picture up there. Going from Atlanta to Amsterdam, a 2-hour quick layover at Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam down to Barcelona. And look, that product that you see in the picture, if you're watching, we flew the 787-10 Dreamliner. It's such a long plane.
Yeah.
Business class was full, kind of a late night starting there as a 10:30 p.m. departure out of Atlanta, which for the kids was still a very long day. Look, I love the service on KLM. I love the planes. I love the design. Very comfortable seats. The crew was awesome. They saw the kids up there, and they saw that, we weren't going to let the kids run wild, that the parents had control of the kids, which I think the crew and other passengers always appreciate. But I tell you what, man, the food on this flight was terrible. It was a swing and a miss on both dinner and breakfast. I don't even know what breakfast was attempting to be, and the dinner was, it wasn't very good at all. But again, it was like a 7-hour flying time, man, because the winter jet stream is behind us. We were there in no time. And again, the crew was amazing. You see, this is my new additions to if you're watching.
I like the houses.
The houses added up there now, and it was great. Quick layover, Amsterdam, man. Schiphol is always.
So just out of curiosity, like, why the heck do you eat on a 10:30 p.m. departure for dinner? Like, I understand breakfast, but come on, man.
It's like I'm not going in there hungry, and I usually just pick around. It's just because I am such a geek and a nerd about the plane products that I just want to experience what the airline's going to put up there. Like I am still very much a little kid when I walk on the plane, and I want the whole experience. And then Thomas was sitting next to me. We sat in the middle. So if everybody listened last time, we had the snafu with where kids are supposed to sit on Air France business class. It wasn't a problem. KLM, we sat 2-2 in the middle, rows 1 and 2, so we didn't have a window seat, and that seemed to be perfectly fine. But Emily and Mary went to sleep pretty quick, but Thomas was so amped, and he didn't want to waste the seat, as he said, by going to sleep. That I was like, all right, man, let's see what they got for dinner. And we just checked it out, and I just want to check it all out. And then everybody always asks me, just like you, I get so many questions about, hey, would you recommend this? What's it like? And I just want to have the full experience. But again, can't say enough nice things about KLM crew. They're always fantastically nice and polite and over the top and friendly and everything. Just the food was a swing and a miss on this one. But we're there in no time. A quick layover in Amsterdam. You got to go through you're entering the what is Shenzhen area. So you got to go through immigration there and the transfers and get over to the gates that are going to fly you to the rest of Europe. So that's always a bit of a cluster. Cutting it close on a 2-hour layover. I hate doing that. Eventually, the ladies took pity on us and saw us with Thomas and Mary, who were absolutely exhausted. And let us skip the line. So get through Amsterdam, no problem. Hop on a 737. All of us passed out on the second flight. It's only like an hour and a half down to Barcelona. But I actually love this timing, man. We left a little bit late in Atlanta, but by the time we landed in Barcelona, it was 4:30 in the afternoon. So by the time you get your bags and get to the hotel, you just got to grab dinner, and then everybody can pass out. You're not fighting all day to stay awake and keep yourself busy. So I really like that. So wonderful KLM. Again, we paid remember, KLM gives 25% off kids' tickets, miles required, even for business class. So I think all of us were all in business for less than 200,000 total Flying Blue miles. And then with the built rent day, it was less than 100,000 built points for all 4 of us to fly business class. I think 70,000. It was just absurd value, and we couldn't pass it up.
Two things about Amsterdam. First off, if you're just if you're just arriving at the airport, that could be a little bit troublesome with kids, because I did that last year when Charlie and I went to Legoland, because the kids can't use the e-gates. But when you're going in between terminals and you're doing that customs check or whatever it is, there is an expedited lane if you do have a flight leaving in the near future, and they will flag you over. So for folks who see the long line and they're not sure what to do, there's usually one line to the side, far left, far right, where you can sort of cut the line if you have a shorter connection. It's implicitly acknowledging that it's a little bit of a steamer at that airport.
Yeah, but they are checking those boarding passes to get in that. You got to actually have. You can't just say my flight's coming. They actually had a little board up on the screen that said, hey, if you're on one of these flights here and you show us your boarding pass, then you can skip the line. Which leads to the illogical, okay, well then I'll just go hang out here. We're the nice KLM Crown Lounge is, and then push it until it's like, that's a little bit,
No.
you guys are encouraging counterintuitive behavior here. But I don't know, man. It was fine. We didn't have any headaches too bad there. And like family like us walking up to the desk with 4 passports is like a 2-second cursory look, and the stamps go in and you're through. So it was good. So then we're in Barcelona again. I think the last comment I made from Barcelona. So start very high level. Barcelona was amazing. It is my new favorite European city that I have spent time in. It was fantastic, and especially when we went, it was like 65, 70 during the day. There were no crowds. The whole thing that everybody really told me a million times when they found out I was going to Barcelona, that I will get pickpocketed and mugged. No problems whatsoever. Like, I have been to the majority of places I've been are way sketchier than Barcelona.
That was my recollection. When people were telling you that was my recollection. It was like any other big city.
I mean, we weren't dummies and like had stuff hanging out of our back pockets or whatever. And Emily had like a little chest bag that was in the front, and I kept my stuff in my side pockets. But like, I not even once did I I always, again, just who I am. I know who's around us and like walking up, but no problems whatsoever. Again, 3,500 places I've been that are way more sketchy than Barcelona. We did Sagrada Familia. That was amazing. That was fantastic. Then we took a taxi up to the Park Güell up on the hillside, where you can see all Barcelona and like just a really kind of cool park they set up. We did Las Ramblas. We did the market a couple times. We're only there for like really a full day and a half before our cruise. Hotel Baguez on right there. That was the small luxury hotel of the world, which, rest in peace if you can't book that too high anymore. Dude, it was awesome, man. It was literally right there, 2 doors down from the main market on the main street. The hotel staff was overwhelmingly hospitable. The breakfast included was amazing. Like a really cool boutique property hotel. Very small rooms, but we had to get 2 rooms, but whatever. Like balconies open right out onto the main street, rooftop pool and terrace that's open with like a little bar. Like, oh man, Hotel Baguez, Baguez. If you got to go stay there, and hopefully it's a reasonable amount of Hilton points, which we'll find out, right?
No.
Cannot recommend that place enough. We got around by taxi in Barcelona. Everything was metered. Nothing was sketchy. People were friendly. We probably took 5 taxis, like from the airport to the hotel to the places between each other, hotel to the cruise port to the airport. No problems, very reasonably priced, everything metered, no shenanigans, no sketchy, nothing. Had all the food, man, in Barcelona. Like, it was just really, really enjoyed it. And we barely got like a taste of the city in just the kind of day and a half, 2 days that we were there. So I can't say enough positive things about Barcelona, and love, really looking forward to going back to Spain. But it was time to get on this big cruise, man. So like the visceral reactions, right? When you start talking about cruising as an American, the people are all about it, or people hate it. What I have found, and I would be curious to find your opinion on this, and everybody listen if you write in, I have found it's very rare that somebody has been on a cruise experience like this. I'm not talking about a Carnival fun boat out of Galveston, Texas. No offense if that's what you love. That's not my scene. But like your Mediterranean cruise on a really nice brand new ship with all these things that don't like it. Like, once people are hesitant to try it, and then when they try it, if they try the right thing, they really enjoy it. But I don't know, man. I don't find many people that go on a trip like this or a cruise like this and come back and go never again. Like, what have you heard from folks?
Yeah, I haven't, and I think European cruises are something that aren't necessarily mainstream popular in the U.S., but virtually everyone I know who's been on one has had great things to say. Just because, to your point, there are, you get to see a bunch of different cities, but also, I mean, a lot of these ships, even though they're lines that most people haven't heard of, like I would imagine most people listening have never heard of MSC, they are buying new ships.
They were. So, I mean, I talked to one other American for 7 days on the ship. Like, there was, again, ran into this one guy sitting at a blackjack table. It was the only American I heard, the only American I saw. Over 6,000 passengers. Probably half of the passengers were Chinese. And
yeah,
the MSC staff said that it's really popular now with the Chinese crews coming in. But everybody else, Spanish, Italian, German, a couple Brits, a lot of Italians hopping on. They did a little bit different, right? Here in the U.S., you get on a cruise that leaves on like a Sunday. Like, everybody gets on Sunday morning, and then everybody gets off 5 to 7 days later. On this cruise ship, there were people getting on and off every single day. Like, they had been on for a week. So this cruise was just doing, and they said like through January to March, the MSC World Europa ship was doing the exact same itinerary every week. It was like Barcelona, Marseille, Genoa, Civitavecchia, Palermo, Malta, back to Barcelona. And so there were like new people on and off the ship every time. So a few people we got on with, we ran into a few times and saw them. and other people were just getting on and off. So I thought that was unique. I didn't know that they did that over
Yeah,
there.
that was news to me when you mentioned it. It makes a ton of sense, but it
Yeah.
was news to me.
Makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, there's just people from all over the world coming and going every single day. The very first day we got on in Barcelona with a Spanish family was in front of us with a little blonde-haired Spanish girl, exactly Mary's age. They made eye contact, and even though a little girl spoke no English and Mary speaks 2 words of Spanish, they became quick friends and ended up going to the kids club together a few days throughout the week. And now the moms traded email addresses and their pen pals. So like that kind of stuff, man, like the kids going to the kids club, like there's just so much to say about this ship. It was fantastic. The kids club's like an official partnership with Lego, but there's multiple kids rooms with foosball and ping pong and switches and like, you know, PlayStation and organized activities and a whole sports deck that turns into bumper cars or roller skates or basketball or soccer. Water parks, like 4 legit water slides, splash areas, like, and like the kids club would take them to do all of this stuff while Emily and I did whatever. So I just cannot say enough about how awesome this kids club was. And again, that Thomas Mary in there with tons of Chinese kids that speak no English, with tons of Spaniards, and like, and they had to make it work, and they loved it. Like they came back every single time. They're like, several times we go to pick them up, and Thomas would see me and be like, "Get out of here, Dad! Like I'm not ready to go. Like come back, try again." And I'd be like, "Okay." Like, oh darn, I got to go hang out. So like that whole international experience of this cruise on top of getting to see the different destinations was fantastic. But I'm gonna let everybody in on a little secret, man. We went a little bit bougie. All right. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here. We did the MSC Yacht Club.
Whoa. Who replaced our Richard Kerr with you?
It was just too good of a deal, man. So have you heard the MSC Yacht Club? I think every cruise line is doing a version of this now.
I haven't, but you mentioned it to me, so I assume it's like, you know, the same thing that the Royal Caribbean has, which we cruise on them fairly frequently, or used to.
Yeah, like the ship within a ship, right? Where you have like it's butler service. There's the cabins in the top front of the ship are reserved for this. You have your own restaurant on this ship. You have your own lounge. You have your own pool, your own hot tub. You get spa access down there. I think I said butler service, like over your own concierge, own part of the ship. You don't wait in line for anything. There's a special line getting on and off the ship. And when you got 6,000 people trying to get on and off in ports, that actually makes a big difference to skip those lines. They actually have a thing on everything happens in the app now, just again, like most cruise lines. Anytime there's a show or something, you have to reserve a spot in the MSC app because the theaters are only so big, but they do multiple shows. The Yacht Club doesn't have to do that. You can just show up and you get a little band that you wear on your, actually a really nice, like,
you are bougie.
rubber band that you have. But I mean, it ended up being so worth it, man. It was, again, that's a lot of people on a ship. And there were times like on the sea day or on really nice weather days when like the sun did pop out, that the pools and hot tubs were just crowded and we could kind of retreat to our own area of the ship that wasn't crowded at all. Not really a party vibe at all on the ship, but it did get just a little bit rowdy at certain times. In the evenings, you can skip the main dining room. You don't have to go to the buffet. You get, again, your own restaurant that's just for Yacht Club people with the top servers and everything. And it was just fantastic. So, like, I went and looked at a few other Yacht Club experiences just to compare prices for, like, what they're charging for the Caribbean experience now. Mm-hmm. I think we just caught a deal, man. Like, there's no way I would pay. Like, looking at, like, 5 to 7 day Caribbean cruises for Yacht Club right now, it's looking like anywhere from, like, $2,000 to $4,000 per person. We paid absolutely nowhere near that. Like, I'm not crazy. So I think we just caught a deal on the off season. But Yacht Club, you can go look it up, check everything out. They give you like, I mean, mini bar restocked every day. Like they even had like the kids' robes and slippers size for Thomas and Mary hanging up when we got there. The butlers and the assistant butler couldn't say enough about how hard these guys work and the level of service that they provided. We had a couple guys from Indonesia that, I mean, like they reservice your room like 3 times a day, or anytime you need something, you hit this little keypad next to the door that like alerts the butlers that you're like just over the top, like spoiled rotten way to go. So really loved it, man. But as far as the ship goes, again, ports were awesome. Marseille, France, Genoa, Italy. We caught the pizza, Civitavecchia. We didn't go all the way into Rome. Like it's just Civitavecchia to Rome is a hike. Like
it is a hike.
It is.
Yeah.
You're either sitting in an hour and a half of traffic in a bus, or you're trying to catch a train that's very crowded, and especially in the summer, very hot, and just kind of, it was just going to be too much for the kids. So we took another day on the ship just to chill when everybody else left. Plus, we were already exhausted by that point doing Barcelona and Marseille and Genoa. But then Palermo, probably Palermo, Malta tied for favorite spot. Love Palermo. We actually walked from the cruise ship all the way to the city center. There's like some hidden gems in Palermo where like everybody knows the places to go. But then we went to this monastery that's now like an immaculate church, but you can go up on the roof terraces, and like all this stuff is like €5 a person, and the kids are free. So like find the hidden gems in Palermo is what I would tell you, but really enjoyed that city. And then Malta, I can't say enough good things about Malta. It's got a picture up here of the main city of Malta. So Malta is very small, but we went like halfway across the country to go up to the old city from the port. Incredible museums. I didn't know anything about Malta, man, until I read about it before this trip. Like, it's just an island nation that has been conquered over and over and over again by so many different people, starting in like 2000 BC and then going through to like World War II when it was a major British port and air base for the war in North Africa. So like I just got a taste of it, man. But Malta is like, there's countryside, incredible history, museums. The cities are amazing. The old city history is fantastic. There's Malta wine country now. There's beach. There's a Hyatt Regency Malta that I had forgotten about and heard about. But everything there, you're like, oh, this sounds like an expensive place. Very affordable place. Like a very affordable. We did hop on, hop off bus tour, which some people cringe at that, but I find them in a place like this where you have one day and you can just go see like this whole route. And literally it was awesome, man. We took a horse-drawn carriage ride through the old city that you get the inside stories from the guy that's doing that. Like, Malta is on the return list. Like, I was bummed that we had such a short time in that country, but it was all. People sent me a few messages like, hey, I'm thinking about going to Europe. Where should I go? I'm like, Malta. Like, you should really check out Malta. The only thing I knew about is a lot of ships are registered there, and then they have a huge aerospace like maintenance industry there, where a lot of planes are either registered or go there for overhauls. But it was just fantastic, man. There's just so much more to say about the ship. Just an unbelievable amount of venues and bars and specialty restaurants and stuff on the ship. Casino program was great. You could do, for everybody listening, you could do fee-free withdrawals of chips onto your CPAS account or whatever they called it there. So, if you know what that means, then you had a little bit of fun there in the casino. But there was an onboard brewery. There was an onboard gin bar where you could make your own gin and tonics, where they had like 40 different gins, 20 different tonics, all these like champagne bar, a chocolatier on board where you can make your own custom chocolate bars, ice cream shops, a coffee roaster on board. When I say brewery, like the huge, like everything you need to make their own beer on board. In the water park, this 11-deck dry slide that you could go down where you had to like sit on a little wool mat and go down 11 decks on this slide. Nice. I mean, like World Showcase thing, like just an incredibly well done ship that like even a weekend we were still finding places on the ship that we hadn't been. And some people are like, no way, that sounds terrible. But I'm just telling you, the ship was so well designed that even with 6,000 people on board, like very few times did it feel like this was going to be like a miserable crowded spot. I mean, very few times. And if it ever did feel like that, we just retreated up to the yacht club space and hung out, man. So it was great. But I will end on the last part. If you're ever going to do this, and I don't know if it's on other MSC ships, this is by far my favorite cruise experience that I've had. So when you get on kind of one of the main decks inside and like what is like the promenade where there's like restaurants and stuff on 3 levels, at the end of the hallway at the very front of the ship is a British red telephone booth that everybody's seen a million times. You can open it up and there's a phone in there, and everybody's like, oh, this is just like a cool thing to like take a picture of, or like everybody was like, what is this for? I had seen something on YouTube before we left about this phone booth, and it turns out this is a really cool thing. There's a speakeasy on the ship down in the crew area. And I'm going to have to I'm going to make a reel about this on Instagram because it was so awesome. There's a speakeasy. Nobody talks about it. It's not advertised whatsoever. But if you befriend a crew member, they can extend an invite to the secret speakeasy. And they actually have to give you a physical metal coin that has a QR code engraved in the back of it. And they don't tell you what it's for. They're like, here you go. Appreciate you, whatever. Here's a coin. You scan it and it brings up this like speakeasy thing in the app where you have to call and make a reservation. And then they say, okay, at your reservation time, go to the phone booth, dial this code number in. Somebody will pick up, give them the password. And then the back of the phone booth opened and the host appeared.
Nice.
And then they walk you through this little hallway that has like 20s New Orleans, like legit speakeasy like entrance way, and then you're in the crew area and you're like going down the crew staircase, and then you're going through the crew passages, and then you like go through this little curtain, and there's this like amazingly well done and decorated speakeasy with some of the best cocktails I've had in the world. And again, I have some videos of these cocktail presentations. Like this was not like, I kind of like was like, oh, this is gonna be like hokey, like thinking of a carnival or somebody doing it. It's like, no, this was whoever that got this, they really well done with the best jazz singers and piano guy down there, and the crew that they had picked to do this were obviously very thrilled that they had been selected to work in the speakeasy, and like it was fantastic. Like it was so well done, amazing. Emily doesn't drink whatsoever, but she had like French 75s with fresh lavender spray spritzed over it right as they hand it to you. Like just all the little things it was awesome. So we came back, we were like, man, nobody on the ship knows about, there was like, there was like 8 people in there out of 6,000 when we were down there for a couple hours. I mean, it was
Wow.
it was really cool. So like those kinds of little details and hidden secrets, like they didn't get everything right for MSC, and we had a great time, but like getting that experience right, it was just that's like next level hospitality that I'm all about. So I think you can YouTube the speakeasy experience on there.
I love it.
After we talked to him, they actually said, so somebody has posted this on YouTube, and it became a thing where everybody was just asking to go. Now the crew has to be very specific about who they invite, and they just deny it if people ask. So it's like, so they try and maintain the thing going on. But I befriended one of the bar guys in the casino, was just a super cool guy, and he was the one that got us in. So it was awesome, man. Can't say enough. And then we quick hop on American back from Barcelona the same day. We got back in port. Again, all of us in business. This is where I pulled all the tricks out of the bag to make this happen. Got 2 reasonably priced mileage tickets for Emily and Mary on one ticket, and then Thomas and I found the cheap round trip economy airfare from Barcelona coming back to Copenhagen 6 months in the future, because there was sea space open for system-wide upgrades. So use a couple of system-wide upgrades. So Thomas and I are one ticket, Mary and Emily on the other ticket, and all of us flew back. I find these seats incredibly comfortable on the American Dreamliner, and not the rocker seats with the ones facing backwards, but the ones where everything's facing forward. It's a very small business class cabin, only 5 rows on this whole plane. The crew on this thing was awesome, man. A lady named Diane, who just took a liking to Thomas and Mary and thought they were the coolest. And since it's a daytime flight, we were like, hey, nobody go to sleep. Like, just stay up and whatever.
Yeah.
And the food was some of the best food I've ever had on a plane.
Wow.
Like, it was great, man. It was some kind of steak or beef for lunch. And then right before landing, everybody got a barbecue sandwich.
Steaks on a plane?
Yeah. And I mean, and then like the full works ice cream sundae where they put all the toppings on. I was like, shoot, man, it was a fantastic flight. Like no problems doing that again. So just an amazing trip. I mean, there's so many more details and stories to go into, and I'm happy to answer, anything people throw out. But man, it just lived up to expectations. And it's going to be a regular thing now, like off-peak Europe trip for the Curse, like every February, January, depending on what we're going to do. It just can't say enough great things about that ship and the cruise line and everybody on there. So it's, an amazing trip, and why we work so hard and do the things that we do so we can have that kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. First off, steak on a plane is something I've sort of given up on. I've had a couple of absolutely horrible steaks on United going overseas. It's actually kind of funny because, you and I listen to Dots, Lines, and Destinations, and Steven, one of the co-hosts there, he took United back from Europe a couple weeks ago and was just ranting about how horrible the steak is. So glad to hear you had a good steak. That's definitely a rarity in the air. And I think, like when we go back to talk about this trip, this is, I know you said you're bummed you didn't get to spend more time in Malta, but I mean, prior to the cruise, what were the chances that you would have booked Malta as your next destination?
Yep, 0, right?
Right. And so that's to me, that's the joy of like an overseas cruise is that, you're hopping to a bunch of different places. I think the same thing for like Central American cruises, things like that. Like Caribbean sort of is what it is, but like anytime you're getting to explore 5 or 6 or 7 different destinations like this, I just look at it like you're on a buffet, and like you're gonna have a little bit of play to everything, and then you're gonna decide where you want to go back to. And now Malta's on your list, so I think like the cruise did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, the other thing I think about is there's so many places in this world to see that I can't dedicate a 1 or 2 week trip to every single location.
Sure.
And it's just, again, it's to each their own, like however you want to travel. Some people want to deep dive in there, whereas I just want to get a taste of everything and then find out where I want to go back to, like you said. So
yeah,
I love it, man. I can't wait for the next time. And again, my happy spot in life is just being on the water. Like if I'm sitting on our balcony, literally just chilling with my feet up on the railing and looking at the ocean, then like I'm a happy dude, and that is where I will be for as long as I can be every time I get the opportunity.
I love it. Well, I too had exciting adventures while you were gone, but they were nowhere near as exciting as yours. But mine did involve a speakeasy. So I did get state number 49, South Dakota. It was cold, but not as cold as I was expecting. And an interesting place. I think the cool thing was, at least for me, this is from a business side of things, but I think even people who are here for travel will be interested in this very short story. So we went up to go judge some startups up there as part of a organization called Startup Sioux Falls. I think they did a really good job. But we also spent some time with a guy named Matt Paulson, who runs a company called Market Beat. He graduated college back in 2007, started a newsletter about the stock market, and here we are, fast forward to 2024, lives in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and will likely, as a guy who controls the company, so probably owns the vast majority of the stock in the company, will make close to $40 million this year off of that newsletter.
So he graduated college the same year I did, and I'm not making $40 million a year.
You're not?
No, I'm not. He
So
went.
we actually recorded a segment with him for my other podcast, Results Junkies, and we had this funny bit where we're walking through his office, and it's a really nice office, and then we get back to like the back corner, and there's a picture on the wall, and some guy is like, with a construction hat, is like trying to like jigger the picture and stuff, and Matt's like, "Oh, hey, come here, show you. Let me show you," and he's like, "This is what happens when." This is what happens when you build a new office and nobody who works for you will tell you it's a bad idea. You end up with your own speakeasy. So if you're watching, you can see the video of the picture being pulled back and this unbelievably beautiful speakeasy in his office, in the Market Beat offices in South Dakota, which is where we recorded our podcast. So it was Speakeasy Week, and along with State 49, and I did pick up
Couple bottles of Blanton there on the shelf.
I know some nice stuff up there. Yeah. And I did since in honor of you not knowing you were going to be at Speakeasy yourself, I also did hit the Speakeasy in Vegas as well at the Resorts World. So 3 speakeasies across you and me, different continents.
Looking at this video, you could say, all right, here's 1,000 guesses to guess where the speakeasy is, and South Dakota would not have been on my list. I don't think I would have said.
No.
I am super jealous, man. That's State 49. It would have also been State 49 for me, and I think you asked me about this, but I was already on the had the Europe cruise plan. So, man, you're one ahead of me now. So I gotta get to Kansas or South Dakota sometime this year and get back to 49.
Well, that was the plan. The plan was if you had been around, it was all right. Let's go hit Arkansas. I'll hit Arkansas. You hit Kansas, and then you and I can fight to see who gets off the plane first in South Dakota.
Oh man, Arkansas left on. Yep. I've been stuck on these for like 4 years now too. It's like embarrassing at this point. Like I just gotta get it done.
I picked up Hawaii. That was the first one I picked up in quite some time. So I'm accelerating, I guess. So in a rarity, we actually get to talk about rent day before it happens, because the day that the embargo drops is after this episode will drop, but before the actual rent day, since this episode will come out on Wednesday. And there's a little bit of madness this month, man.
It is a little bit of March Madness. So the marketing team a couple months ago thought, we really try to play into the things that's important to our demo. March Madness for the young folks out there in the built ecosystems of a big deal. So there's going to be a bracket of 16 different offers that range from like 10x on built dining, 5x on grocery stores for card holders, all these kinds of things. And built members are going to be, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be day 3 of voting. Every single day, you got 8 head-to-head matchups. You'll vote for that one, and the winner of the offer will go on down to the next day until we get to February 29th. Happy leap year, everybody, especially our leap year birthday babies. And it'll be final day of voting on 29th, and then whatever wins on March 1st, that will be the offer. So you, the built members, are deciding which offer wins this month. And then for those of you who have built gold or platinum status, you actually get to take advantage of both the runner-up and the winner. So you get 2 offers. So going from the Final Four to the championship, you will see which 2 you get to partake in. So it's like 10x on built hotels, 15x on like activities, aka Disney tickets. So if you want to get 15x built points on your next Disney tickets, you might want to vote for that one, which is actually what I'm going to be voting for myself. So I mean, that's like, that's like a 30% rebate on Disney tickets in my book if I'm getting 15x built points. So all kinds of stuff like that, man. So it's great. And then for those of you who are like, I'm really worried about that, look, we have 250 tickets to Elite 8 Final Four games.
I'm legit pissed at you for this. You could have told me this was coming before I transferred my entire built balance back in January.
Look, man,
now I don't have enough. Now I don't have points to go to the Final Four.
We didn't know if we would be able to pull this off. Like the logistics to make this happen between there's 4 different cities for the Elite 8. And then it goes down to the Final Four, and we have games all the way up into the championship game tickets. And there's watch parties for people who have tickets as well. Like really well done. Shout out to Julian, our creative director, who handles these built experiences that have really gone over very well with our members. It was dining last time for Valentine's Day, and the people that got to go to the curated menus and get like $500 dinners for 15,000 built points for 2 people. It's just like insane value. So the tickets are going to start again at 15,000 points. The championship and Final Four tickets are going to be a little bit more expensive. But just like we did for the NFL games, you can hop in there. And again, those will be gated by your built status. So built platinums will get first pick, and every 30 minutes, the next window will open. If you don't get it, please join the wait list. We have always had cancellations, and then we go back to the wait list and just do a random pick the number for who gets off the wait list. So you have a shot, even if you don't get the first go when it opens in your 30-minute window. But like, unfortunately, Built employees are not eligible for this one, or else like I would be like, oh, come on, like I will happily redeem 15,000 Built points for a ticket to the Elite Eight. Like that's great. So it should be in the Built app, and you'll see when it opens up on March 1st. So make sure that you open that Built app today when you're listening to this and pick the game that you want to try and get a ticket at.
So we got to have a signal, and we'll probably just do it in the video pod, but something like, like maybe like one of these, or like a little like basketball shot, but something that says like, Ed, don't redeem all your points. You need to hold some for the future. Like just a little something, man.
Okay, here it goes.
Little inside track. You're killing me, man. You're killing me. I can't spend enough between now and the end of the month to max this out.
So everybody sees all that stuff, but I just got to talk about it. These are promotions that other companies spend a year trying to pull together. Like the front end experience, we have built all of this ourselves. The voting mechanism, the design team putting brackets together, the loyalty team working them. Like we have had to prep all 16 offers, the mechanics of it, the terms, how it's going to be fulfilled, because we have like certain guesses of which offers are going to win, but you never know.
Right.
So like this is an absurd amount of work for a 5-day promo, and like we do it every month. And like there is no like cheesing on this. I'm not like just if you guys and gals knew the amount of like think about the legal aspect of just getting, and like I mean there's just so much that goes into this, and then the engineers in the front end and the back end. Then you got to do web parity with the app. Then you have to make it all ADA. Then you like there is so much work that goes into making these happen and pulling them off that like you just don't realize it. And it is really ridiculous how fast we have to work to do this every single month, man. Yeah. So it is just wild every single month that we can continue to pull these off.
All right, so I'm going to give you one little tidbit for next year when you do the Built bracket again. All right. Or you might have time to add it now. But yeah, I mean, this is Built, and I know you can pull things off quickly. But here's the thing that you can do next time to make it just a little bit more special. Because you know what we all do with our brackets, right?
Ask for more.
we fill them out ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have the fill it out ahead of time, and if you get a perfect bracket, then you can enter it into a drawing for something.
Yeah. So we actually thought about this, and we looked at different platforms where so what we wanted to do was have like a Built wide member bracket challenge where every Built member could fill out an actual challenge, and then like the mechanics of it, man, we're just going to be like way too much to see like who would win the Built challenge. We'd have to do lottery sweepstakes filings in all 50 states and U.S. territory. Like it just got it. That's what we really wanted to do. We wanted Built members to fill out their own bracket, and we'd crown the Built champion who gets the best bracket. But it got too complicated too fast.
Yeah, brackets are troublesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, let's finish up with just one legit, beautiful, perfect Kerr rant. So airlines,
give folks the details. Yeah, give them the specifics.
Airlines have started to raise check bag fees. Generally speaking, we're talking about $5 extra per check bag, and this started with one airline, and as always, it has spread at this point. Though you still have a few. Southwest is obviously bags fly free. I think as the time of recording, Frontier hasn't touched their pricing, but it's been a minute. It was before COVID the last time they raised check bag fees. But I had a feeling when I saw this happening, call it 5, 6, 7 days ago, that when you got back, your blood was going to be boiling a little bit.
I approach each one of these decisions with what problem are we trying to solve? If I'm the airline, is the problem that we want more ancillary revenue? Is the problem that we have too many bags being checked? Like, I don't think any of that's the problem, right? From the passenger experience, the problem is boarding a United States domestic flight or even international sucks compared to anywhere else in the world. We ordered a 737 KLM completely full in 20 minutes in Amsterdam with every single seat full. Even I was in Toronto this week for business. We boarded the Air Canada Express jet in 15 minutes. Yep. It's because not everybody has 4 bags that they're trying to find a spot for. And this just makes it worse. Like, I think, how much time and technology investments have these airlines made into figuring out the boarding process? How many different groups have we gone through? How many iterations of this have we gone through? How many different things they say this is going to make the boarding process better? And it just makes it worse. Mainly, in my opinion, because of how many check bags there are. And this, like just deters people even more from checking a bag. So this is a legitimate question. What problem are we trying to solve for here? Because it just makes probably one of the biggest complaints and inefficiencies of traveling domestic is every time I board a domestic flight now, like 50 minutes to board. Like my flight to New York tomorrow is probably either, I don't know what's going to be on now, because that's a whole other story, but like a United A320, we got to start boarding 50 minutes before. I got to sit on this metal tube for an extra 40 minutes before we push back from the gate because of 800 bags. And now it just makes it worse, man. So like literally, what problem are we trying to solve for here? And what does this do?
Let me help you answer that. Mr.
Yeah,
Kirk.
please do. Is it a drive to get people to get the credit card more if we make it painful? But $5 doesn't seem to be enough of that. Like, what is this for?
This, my friend, this is all due to the stock market. It's really everything it comes down to. So because of COVID, we have free change fees right now. And you remember the in the before times where it was $200 to change a flight, and one of the biggest benefits of top tier elite status was those change fees were waived. And so you wanted to be 1K or Delta Diamond or Executive Platinum because those $200 change fees, especially for a business traveler, add up super quick. If you're a family of four and you need to make a flight change, it's going to be $800. God forbid you have two one ways and now you're $1,600 in change fees. Like these things add up significantly. And I honestly thought change fees would never go away because of how big, a bigger revenue generator they were for the airlines. And, Scott Kirby said it best, once they got a year into COVID and there were no year over year comparisons for these publicly held companies on change fees, they could get rid of them. But right now it's a comparison and it's a fee, and it generates tons of money, billions of dollars in checked bag fees, which I'll be honest, does surprise me. Not because I don't think people check bags, although why would you, but because there are just so many different ways to avoid checked bag fees. It's not just elite status, as you know, there are a lot of credit cards. So the fact that the airlines still generate billions of dollars in bag fees is a little bit surprising to me. But then once I realized that the numbers were still that high, raising the price from their standpoint makes a ton of sense because they can, and people aren't going to stop.
So why not charge for carry-ons? Because then i.e. the Frontier and Spirit model, right? It is cheaper to check a bag with Frontier and Spirit than to carry it on. And you know what the boarding process is like for Frontier and Spirit? Twice as quick as the legacy carriers, in my experience, because there's not 500 bags coming on the plane. So like, if you want to raise fees and you want to make a better passenger experience, you should charge for carry-ons.
Right, but you're missing. But think about that sentence. Just said, if you want to raise fees and improve passenger experience, they don't want to improve passenger experience. If they wanted to improve passenger experience in this way, they would. But they want to raise fees. They want to make more money. And I think, Vasu Raja is the most honest of the three airlines. I forget his title, Chief Revenue Officer, something like that for American. Yep. And he just says, like, our schedule is our advantage. The airlines, they don't compete on passenger experience. Now they are, like adding in-flight experience stuff, video, stuff like that. But I mean, look at United Airlines, man. I flew them twice last week, both to and from, multiple times, 4 times total, to South Dakota and back and to Vegas and back. And both times I had people on the plane with me. I traveled with my co-host Paul on one, and I traveled with an employee, Aaron, on the other one. Both times they were talking to me about how bad the Wi-Fi was. How long have we been having this conversation? If they really wanted to make it better, they could, and they don't, because it's about making money.
I don't know. That 35 deck PowerPoint presentation I read about United Wide, which I understood 3 words in 35 decks. Seems like they're working on it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to take your word for that.
But to your point, this is exactly the very short story of why my travel this week is now sketchy. Is I have a very specific window that I can travel to New York to both attend important meetings in the morning and then make it to the city for dinner at night.
Yep.
Delta's the only airline based on schedule that could do that for me. And I now have no status whatsoever with Delta, and I have no credit card for any. So I have no benefits whatsoever, but this was my schedule. So I booked that flight because, even though I have TrueBlue Mosaic 3, which flies nonstop to New York, and then obviously United 1K, which flies to Newark, like the schedules just didn't work. So schedules determining that. Now that's all messed up because Biden's flying into New York, and there's air traffic control and some stuff. Then some other things I was going to do to get into the city quickly is not going to work out. So I don't even know what I'm going to do less than 12 hours from now. I'm supposed to go to the airport. But schedule was the determining factor versus onboard experience. Like, would I much rather be in a even more space seat on a JetBlue flight with gate-to-gate Wi-Fi than in the middle of whatever I might end up on in Delta tomorrow? Sure, but like schedule runs the day.
In many cases, it does. Well, I kind of figured we were going to go long today. I'm going to go ahead and apologize to Jeremiah right now for having to sort through all this stuff. Good news, Jeremiah, there are pictures mixed in here, so you get to figure out how to edit that on the fly, too. He's now throwing darts at a picture of me on his wall. My apologies on all of that, but it is good to have Mr. Kerr back, though. It was fun to have Clint here with us last week. We need to get Clint on with you and do the three of us, because the last time you had somewhere to go, I had Gary and Clint on, but we haven't had Clint on with you and I. So that's got to be on our radar in the future. He's a good guest, and you know him well to know that we'd have some fun, the three of us.
I think so. Hey, Clint, I know you might be listening to this, man, but my favorite, I listened to last week's episode about why you love terrible credit card changes. So the great thing about America, man, is everybody's entitled to their wrong opinion. So
I covered that for you. I said that for you.
Say, just want to reinforce it, Clint, and to everybody else listening. That's the great thing. So if you ever want to come on the Miles to Go podcast with a terrible opinion, you can do that here in America at Miles to Go.
And the good news is on the video version, I actually took off the hat I was wearing and put on the Atlanta's welder hat, just to say that your horrible opinion. So I was there for you, man. I was there for you. When you weren't there for me, I was still there for you.
I have the GI Bill still left from my time in the Navy, and going to a technical school to learn how to be like a welder, because welders make like $500 an hour or something. It's on the table, man. So maybe this Atlanta's welder one day will hold more meeting for me.
I love it. Well, I am home this week, so I will live vicariously through you while you're in New York, working on planning out our spring break trips, college, all that stuff. I'm doing my best impersonation of Mr. Kerr because I don't have return tickets booked for our Japan trip for the summer. So I'm just sort of like planning some stuff without return tickets and hoping that something pops up.
It'll work out, man.
It'll work out. Some way it'll work out. It'll work out. Lots to plan. Lots more to come. We do need to have Clint back on the show in the near future, but looking forward to getting back into our groove, and then hopefully, as we sort out the track schedule with my daughter, planning a spring-ish meetup for folks in the Slack community. All that and a whole lot more until we upload again. We've got miles to go. Sure. Yeah, I'm going to take your word for that.